Now turn to Part 3. Part 3. You will hear addressed to your college opening assembly. First, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 16 to 25.
Here today, I'm feeling many of the same emotions that President Brewster must have felt in 1970. Looking out over that gathering of new students, he knew many of them were anxious. He knew they had questions about what they would do at Yale, and many more about the kind of society they would encounter when they graduated. Yet, in his speech, he was asking them to study, to go to the library, to write papers, to conduct experiments. He was asking them to be students. And so he gave voice to a question that was probably on the minds of many, a question I also pose to you today. He asked, and these are his words, where then is the purpose which makes patient learning supportable when the world is on fire? Where then is the purpose which makes patient learning supportable when the world is on fire? Today, again, it seems like the world is on fire, literally and metaphorically. The United States is in the midst of its greatest crisis since 9/11. We're fighting a global pandemic, which will be, for many of us, the most significant geopolitical and perhaps personal event of our lives. But that is not all. This summer, we have witnessed terrible wildfires, drought, and flooding in many corners of the globe. Some of you have experienced these climate disasters firsthand. Not only climate change, but also racism, extremism, the widening gulf between the rich and poor. These are complex challenges that call out for urgent and concerted action. The world is on fire, and again we asked, what is our purpose here? And how do we learn patiently, seriously, and rigorously, as I sincerely hope you will, in times such as these? In thinking about the answer to this question, I was reminded of Musar, sometimes called Musser in English, a 19th century Jewish movement that came out of Lithuania, very close to where my ancestors were rabbis. The central idea of the Musar movement and of similar religious and ethical practices beyond Judaism is that we must improve ourselves before looking outward at society, seeking to change it. We must examine our values, expand our knowledge, and develop our empathy and imagination. One of the rabbis of the time is said to have told this story: I set out to try to change the world, but I failed. So I decided to scale back my efforts and only try to influence the Jewish community of Poland, but I failed there too. So I targeted the community in my hometown of Radin, but achieved no greater success. Then I gave all my efforts to changing my own family and failed at that as well. Finally, I decided to change myself. And that's how I had such an impact on the world. Much like this sage, we are here to make an impact on our communities and on the world. Don't get me wrong. But first, we must start by improving ourselves. Your college years are a time to develop your strengths and talents, to challenge yourself in ways you did not think possible, to gain knowledge and understanding, and to explore. Here at Yale, you will encounter new ideas and engage with people from different backgrounds and walks of life. You will take intellectual risks and ask questions about everything from the structure of the cosmos to the structure of a novel. Improving yourself means leaving your comfort zone, signing up for classes that sound interesting but unfamiliar, going to office hours with slightly intimidating professors. You may be surprised by the conversation that unfolds. Attending talks by speakers whose views are different than yours, and really listening to their arguments. Regardless of what you study or the clubs you join, I promise you that you will not leave Yale the same person you are today. You will be changed, transformed by Yale.
At the end of part 3, you now have a minute to check your answers to part 3. This is the end of listening test. Thank you for your cooperation.